Hi, Joy Olson here, BlockBuster Fundraising, year-end fundraising. Wow, we're right in the middle of it. And a lot of fundraisers right now are really starting to really focus on their major gift prospects and their year-end asks. And this is a very, very important area. And I have a lot of the people that I'm working with right now say to me, well, I want to make a call and I want to make it count. So what should I say? How should I get started? And you know, one of the things about major gifts, you always want to make them feel like they are really in control. You don't want to make them feel like they're being pushed or presented to, and that's why you always continually work so hard to build such a great relationship with your major gift peeps. So I have an article, a blog that Gail Perry wrote that is just, I think, perfect timing for these major gift calls that you are about to make, or questions that you would like to ask to try to make everything comfortable and also learn more and build more trust. And it's an entire set of questions. They're 10 questions, and they're conversational questions that really will inspire your donor. They're going to help build their interest, and ultimately, this is especially great for year end, they're going to open the asking question. All right, are you ready for your major gift questions that you're going to make on your calls right now for year end? Number one question: what inspired your gift? We do a lot of explaining and sharing information with our donors, but we just don't ask donors to talk to us enough. So right now, you want to think of yourself as a detective. Your donor has contributed to your nonprofit for a specific reason. It's now up to you to find out why. What is that reason? It may be something in their past. It may be a friend who is influencing their interest. It may be just your excellent message. It could be something deep in their heart, part of their personal moral values. When you discover why your major gift prospect has made a gift, then you are able to create a deeper stewardship experience for them. You can acknowledge and thank them in a personal way that speaks to them uniquely. Second question you want to ask on your major gift year-end calls: I'd love to know your story. I guess that's more of a statement than a question, but your donor probably has an amazing story to tell about why she cares. Ask about that story. It's a story that may come deeply from her heart. She's probably dying to share her story, but no one is asking. So she'd enjoy so very much sharing it. I think it's always so wonderful to be asked a question, to feel someone's true interest in you. And I think that your donor is going to really appreciate this question and your other questions. And this particular question helps you find out if your donor is wildly passionate, a true believer in your cause. Just how interested or enthusiastic are they, or not? This question helps you qualify your donor and determine if you should spend more time with them right now or not. Third question. This is really good. Little short impact question. Then what happened? You really do want to know as much as you can about your donor. Encourage them to keep talking by asking this question. Then what happened? Remember, you honor your donor by listening to them. You really do. And no one listens anymore. You are making a gift to your donor of your presence by holding the space for them to share details about their story. And they're going to feel your interest, and they're going to really appreciate it. Fourth question. you want to ask your major gift peeps on your year-end calls, what are your impressions of our organization? Asking your donor for their impressions gives them a wide open door to share whatever is at the top of their mind. How do they really think? How do they really feel about your nonprofit, your colleagues, even your own work? Is your donor satisfied with their interactions with you? Or just how committed are they? Asking this question is like opening a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get, and you may be surprised by their answer. But only by finding out what is on your donor's mind will you be able to move forward in a trusting relationship that might culminate in a beautiful year-end major gift. And you'll get clues on how to design a personalized cultivation experience for them, one that will make them happy and bring them joy, because you now understand where they want to go, what their particular interest is. Fifth question for your major donor in your year-end call: what part of our work interests you most? Now it's time to get specific. Exactly what part of your work is your donor most passionate about? Is it the kids? Is it the whole family? Is it your service network or finances? You never know what the answer is going to be until you ask. And many fundraisers make the mistake of assuming their donor's area of interest. They think they know. And then they are surprised when the donor says no to an ask. Once you find out your donor's interest, then, and only then, you can help them learn more and more about their favorite area. You don't want to go on and on about an area that they really don't care about. So your donor's going to enjoy what they're doing and learning as they get more and more involved, because you're going to make sure they're getting more and more involved with the area of their interest. When you find out your donor's passions and interests, you really are only then able to design a personalized engagement experience for them that's going to really bring them delight. Then it's easy to simply ask for permission to ask. And presto, you are discussing her gift and what she wants to accomplish, what she's interested in accomplishing. Sixth question you want to ask your major donor in your year-end calls: how did you come to be so generous? Gail Perry says that this question is from the very smart Kent Stroman's book, Mastering the Art of Conversational Fundraising. Gail says, I love this question because you'll find out about your donor's philanthropic priorities. What is he or she giving to? Where else are they involved? What are their commitments? Who else may be influencing their giving decisions? If you want to design a successful ask, then you need all this information. Again, you don't want to assume that they are a A-level prospect and then find out they're really a D-level because they're committed to other causes. Most major gift prospective donors are happy, really happy, to share their philanthropic vision with you, and they appreciate being asked. It creates openness and trust when you discuss these issues. They like it. Seventh question to ask your major gift donors at year-end: ask for advice and input. Gail says that she loves asking for advice and input. I do too. Gail said she wants to ask a corporate donor how we should present our corporate sponsorships to the business community. He shared with Gail what he wanted to see from us. She says, I delivered it, and we closed his $100,000 sponsorship the next day. That's the way to do it. Gail says, I'm always asking my donors and major gift prospects questions like, you ready? How can we fund this project for the community? Who should be at the table? Who would be good donors to support this effort? Who can make the door open? Who can open the door and make an introduction? And do you think a certain donor in our community would be interested? I shared this article and these questions with a friend of mine that they're getting ready for a big year-end campaign. And he said, you know, I've been asking our board and our community advisory committee these questions. I should have been asking my donors. And that's really true. Because this engages your donors in the strategy part of your fundraising effort. They know so much, they really do, and they can be so very helpful. When your donors start offering advice and assistance, then they in a way join your team. They feel like they are insiders, and their interest is growing and growing as they enjoy themselves and enjoy being a part of your team. 8th question for your year-end calls to your major gift PEEPS. Could you see yourself becoming more involved in our organization? This is so important. Yet again, you don't want to make an assumption about a donor's level of interest. Your donor may ask you what you mean by this, and you can mention volunteering, serving on a committee, or becoming more financially involved. Gail says she really likes this question because you must qualify your donor and find out whether and how they would like to be involved. And your donor will tell you what they're interested in and what they want to do. But they're only going to tell you if you ask them. Again, this terrific question comes from Kent Stroman, and in his book, Mastering the Art of Conversational Fundraising. That's a great book. 9th question you want to ask your major gift PEEPS on your year-end calls. If you made a major gift, what would you like to accomplish? When you have an engaged, interested donor who has capacity, then it's perfectly fine to ask them this question outright, because you are in fact a fundraiser, and your role is to facilitate your donor's interest in giving to your organization. Hey, it's your job. Of course, you should be having discussions like this with your donor. Absolutely. And again, Gail says, don't assume your donor's interest area. Make no mistake, your donor probably has a very clear notion of what they want to accomplish, and you've been helping them learn more and more about their area of interest, and they probably have been pondering this question all along. What do they really want to accomplish? Last question to ask your major gift PEEPS on your year-end calls. Would you like to know more about how you could impact this project? Gail once again says this is one of her very favorite questions, and here's why. Because it clearly opens the ask conversation. She says one of my mottos is to ask for permission to ask. She says I like to let the donor lead the way. If she is ready to have this discussion, she'll let you know. Typically, a donor will say, sure, I'd like to know how I could make an impact. And then you can have some suggestions at hand. You must have suggestions at hand. And Gail says she likes to have gift suggestions at 3 different levels. For example, well, you could help 100 or more kids with a gift of such and such. Or you could help us expand our reach into a new city with a gift of this. Or you could endow our program area and make sure this work is continued for good with a gift of this amount. Then you just sit quietly and let the donor consider this. We used to say in stock brokerage after the ask, he who speaks first loses. Let them think. You're moving from the hypothetical discussion of what might you like to accomplish into something much more specific. Now you've developed an open, trusting relationship with your donor by carefully listening to her and her preferences. Once the idea of a gift is on the table, keep listening to her ideas. Ask her what other questions she needs to have answered in order for her to make a decision. So I think that you'll agree with me that now you are ready to make those calls, and we really thank Gail Perry for those very wonderful 10 questions to ask. You'll need to determine an appropriate ask amount that is major gift size. You don't want your amount to be too high or too low. It needs to be just right. So how do you find that sweet spot? Well, there are two elements which define the limits of the perfect ask amount. First, know what your organization needs. Second, consider what the donor wants to accomplish. If you find a match between the donor's desires to help and your organization's needs, hey, you are on the way to getting a gift. It's fair to assume that you don't have a team of researchers on staff to help you determine an ask amount for everyone. You may not even run your list through a wealth screening to provide a guide. So, in these situations, use what you have. You know the donor is already given to your organization, and you have important pieces of information gained from building that relationship. So you can determine other critical data with some basic research yourself. This research includes things like, what does your donor do for a living? How much do they give to other organizations? Because you've certainly seen their name on donor walls or in annual reports of other organizations, nonprofit organizations, right? Well, some people like to figure out how much their house is worth. Other important factors that you've learned through conversations with your donors, such as the fact that they're currently paying for a college tuition for one child or a wedding for another. Once you've done some detective work and gathered some background information, it's time to decide on an ask amount. Now, how do you calculate your ask amount down to the dollar? Well, begin with an average amount that your donor has given to your organization over the last few years. If they gave $1,000 each year for the last 3 years, that's your starting amount. If they gave $500 2 and 3 years ago, but jumped to $1,000 last year, you can also start with $1,000. Use your judgment with what your starting number will be. Now, multiply your baseline. If you've never asked them in person before, this is your first ask for this major gift, then you've probably received these gifts from events, annual appeal letters, and online solicitations. Since you'll be asking in person this time, take that starting amount and multiply it by 5. All right? So if they've given you $1,000 at an event, multiply that by 5 and ask for $5,000. Is that easy enough? Sure. You want to consider every factor, because now you could ask for $5,000, but first consider all the other factors that you know about them from your detective work. And if you know that they're paying for college tuition and a wedding, decrease the amount and ask for $4,000. If you know they've just sold their business and they are flush with cash, you can ask for more and consider $7,500. If you know that they really want to make a difference and want to support the work you're doing in a big way, and you have a specific need of $6,000, ask for that. Always calculate using past giving. What they've given in the past is a critical starting guideline. The reason it's so important is that if you know the donor has given $1 million to another cause, you might be tempted to ask for $1 million too. However, chances are they are much more connected and committed to that other organization. And you might jump to $10,000 if they're giving $1 million elsewhere. But going from $1,000 to $1 million is unlikely. You're going to have to engage them more first. Determine each ask amount for every major gift call you're going to be making for year end. Take out the list of people, take out that list that you're going to ask, and determine ask amounts for each one of them based on their giving history to your organization and the other factors you know about them. It's almost like a mini capital campaign. It is, I think, a wonderful way to get in the mood, to get yourself excited about those major gift calls and meetings and asks that you're going to be doing from now through year end for your year end fundraising. It's very important. I know sometimes it can be very scary, but once you've got a good plan, you know what you're going to do, you follow that plan, it's going to work out wonderfully. Hey, this is Joy Olson at BlockBuster Fundraising and joyolsongroup.com saying we're here with you. We know that this is a hugely important, busy time of year. So we're looking to try to come to you with little tips and hacks and inspiration and help you get just to surpass all your fundraising goals this year. Thank you for having been here today. We appreciate your time. We go live every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Check us out on Instagram and have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.